Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my college basketball best bets here for Friday night. There are a lot of games. And guys, I did want to give out a disclaimer. This is just for fun. It's very early in the college basketball season. This is for entertainment. I'm going to make my 20 picks. Some of them are based off a personal feel. Some of them are, through different betting algorithms that I look at. But again, guys, these are very surface level picks. We don't know how good or how bad these teams are. I just don't want people, betting on all these games, then losing and then coming back and screaming at me, because these are all this is content. This is who I like. This is who the algorithms like. It's my top 20 bets for Friday night for college basketball. All of its non-conference play, obviously. Let's get right into it. Starting with Detroit at Boston College. I'm liking the under 139.5. And guys, the reason I like it, this game is being played at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It feels like an under. It feels, 1 o'clock on a Friday afternoon is a weird start time. Not going to be any crowd energy. I like the under in it. That's my opinion on that. New Hampshire +5 versus Fairfield. So there's a lot of models that actually like New Hampshire to win this game at home outright over Fairfield. This is also a 1 o'clock game, I believe. Next, we've got Michigan State at Gonzaga. I like the under 145.5. So guys, I believe this game is being played on an aircraft carrier. Those games tend to normally always go under due to the outside conditions, due to the wind. We'll take the under. I think Gonzaga is around 11-point favorites. I will stay away from betting, on Gonzaga or Michigan State. It would certainly be good for the Big Ten if Michigan State somehow won that game or at least kept it close. But in terms of the 11.5, it's so hard to bet because you've got so many inexperienced players. I would say Michigan State is more experienced, and I actually like Michigan State this year. But due to this game's location, I'll take the under 145. Mississippi State versus Akron. This is a neutral site game. The over 129.5. It seems like such a small number. I'm guessing it's due to Mississippi State because Akron has a decent offense. I feel like these two teams will play a competitive, higher scoring game. Probably both of them get into the 70s, and we've got an easy over 129.5. It just felt like good value. SMU +12 at Dayton. So Dayton had a surprising, very tough first game versus a newcomer, Lindenwood. And now they get SMU at home. You could say this is a correction game. Dayton will cover. I'm going against that. I think Dayton gets off to a slow start this year. I like SMU to cover. I like the value plus the 12 in that one. North Carolina -21 versus Charleston. So North Carolina really struggled. I think they were like 24-point favorites in their first game. They won by 13. It feels like this one, the number one team in the nation, they returned so much. They will cover the 21.5. This feels like a correction to me. Maybe North Carolina gets off to a slow start. They don't cover here, but to me it feels like a correction. I could see North Carolina getting into the 90s. If they do that, do we really think Charleston, I could see something like 94-65 or something like that, like a 30-point game and an easy cover of the 21. Villanova -6 at Temple. I also like the under in this game, but I like Villanova minus the 6 more. It's good overall value. Temple is already 0-1. There's not a lot of hype surrounding Villanova basketball right now, but only 6-point favorites at a bad Temple team. I do find good value in that. Bryant -1.5 at Dartmouth. I love Bryant basketball this year. It's a man crush of mine. They're really good on offense. I think there's also value on the under in this game, but I just love Bryant to win this game outright, and if they win it outright, chances are they're going to cover the 1.5-point spread. Penn at Missouri, the under 150.5, just seems like a game that's going to go under. 150 is a decently big enough number to where, we get something like 70-58. We've got an easy under hitting. I'll go under on that. Texas A&M -12.5 versus Abilene Christian. It's not enough. Texas A&M is actually a good team this year. Their boosters have used money. They've gotten, transfer portal guys. 12 and a half, it seems like this should be about an 18-point spread in my opinion based on a number of algorithms I've seen. Norfolk State at Baylor, the over 144 and a half. So my expectation here is Baylor scores into the 90s. If Baylor scores into the 90s, Norfolk State can get to 55 or 60 points very easily, especially if we're talking about garbage time. I could see Baylor having a 55-point first half here and the over 144 hitting. You're talking about like a 93 to 67 type game. That's like 155 total points. The over easily hits. Northern Illinois at Northwestern. Massive under vibe in this one. Northern Illinois is really bad. Northwestern is a back end Big Ten team. They're not awful, but they are bad. So we will take the under 142. I actually think Northern Illinois lost to a Division I school in their first game. And guys, it just feels like neither one of these offenses is good. This game's being played at Northwestern. It always seems like there's low-scoring games there. We'll take the under 142. St. Thomas of Minnesota, minus 10.5 versus Chicago State. So Chicago State is routinely one of the worst Division I teams in college basketball. St. Thomas, Minnesota was not horrible last year. 10.5 seems like decent value. They could win this game by 25 at home, in my opinion. Iowa minus 24.5 versus North Carolina A&T. Guys, every year, Iowa against these really bad teams, their offense just totally runs up the score. And it's because they always have a good offense in general, but I'm constantly seeing Iowa drop 90 burgers, 100 points against these really bad teams. 24.5 is just not enough. My expectation here, Iowa gets into the 90s. They just always do. And if they're getting into the 90s, North Carolina A&T, you're talking about like 96 to 67. That's a 29-point deficit. I see this game being right around 30 points. I think the spread should be like 28-29. So I think there's value in the minus 24.5. Personally, we love Pepperdine basketball, guys. Pepperdine, they were 5-point favorites against Rice in their first game. They annihilated them by almost 40. Now they face Fullerton on the road, minus 3. We're trusting Pepperdine basketball here. They're going to make the tournament. They're going to be really good. Them and Bryant. Those are my two teams right now. And Queens University. But Queens is kind of just a little cute thing, but it's Pepperdine and it's Bryant. Those two schools are really underrated right now, guys. Mississippi Valley State at Hawaii, the over 138. So, guys, Mississippi Valley State is just horrific. I could see Hawaii. My expectation for picking the over 138 is that Hawaii is going to probably score like 90 points in this game, and you would just need Mississippi Valley State to get to 50. You've got the over 138. Of course, it presents major issues if Hawaii only gets to like 76, then the over, zero chance of it. I believe Hawaii is minus 25 in this game. I think there's good value on Hawaii. Mississippi Valley State is so bad. They're so bad. Wake Forest minus 7 versus Georgia. This is just me betting against Georgia basketball. I know Wake Forest was not impressive in their first game, but overall, guys, against a team like Georgia at home, minus 7 seems relatively easy for Wake Forest to cover. Lamar at TCU will go over the 135.5. I still think TCU is a good team. They're 33-point favorites. They had an absolutely horrific Game 1 opening night performance against Arkansas Pine Bluff, where they were down by 11 at half. They nearly lost. This is a get-right game for them. This is a game where they put up 98 points. And Lamar, they can get to 50, 55. The 135, it just seems like TCU is not going to play down again. But I don't find the 33-point spread attractive enough because it's one of those where it's such a big spread, you get like a backdoor late cover where TCU's up by like 30 and there's no motivation. They're playing their backups, Lamar covers. So I'll just say we'll go the over 135 because I do think this is a get-right game for TCU. They're a veteran team. They are a good team who just had a really bad opening night. And they're going to drop at least a 90 burger on Lamar at home. UCF +1 versus Florida State. Both of these teams got upset and embarrassed in their opening night games, but I think UCF at home is good value to win this game outright over Florida State. This is just total speculation, honestly, guys. I'm just picking the home team It's a total flip of the coin this early in the season, but I'll take the home team plus the 1 because the model's like UCF. And then FAU at Ole Miss, the over 135. That game, the total in that game stuck out like a sore thumb to me. It seemed like a very small over-under for two teams that I feel like could be in kind of a higher scoring competitive game, something like 77-71. The over 35.5 clearly hits. So if you're talking about a competitive game, you're talking about maybe into the high 60s, low 70s. We like the over 135.5 in that. So guys, once again, there's a disclaimer, listen, we know very little about these teams. This is just really for fun, and it's based mainly off of models I look at, and then I do with some of these games, especially the unders. I will have a gut feeling on a certain game, and something like Pepperdine or Bryant, I'll have a gut feeling on a team and think a team's better than where Vegas is putting them, and it's kind of a combination of those two things. So guys, we will see how these do here on this Friday night. Pretty full slate of college basketball. Normally when it comes to videos like this, like college basketball betting, we're going to get massive Saturdays, so they should start releasing lines earlier, and the hope is I can get my college basketball Saturday bets when the games start getting better on Friday and released on Friday, because obviously when you're talking about Saturday with college basketball, the games are starting at noon. So it becomes an issue if I film and release the video on Saturday and the games are happening. So the hope is if the lines get released the day before, which I think they normally do, at least the conference games, I will be able to release my college basketball Saturday bets on Friday. Obviously, these videos are not ideal because they've got like a 5-hour shelf life. Like this video, for example, is going to be useless in 12 hours, right? Nobody's going to want to watch it because the game's already happened. So it's with college basketball, it's a lot more harder than college football to where you get that 5 or 6 day buffer. I can release my predictions on a Monday. The game's not till Saturday. It's a little bit different with college basketball, but either way, guys, we will see with these games and what ends up happening. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.